Hey, I've got a video you really need to watch from Ben Swan, and also I've got some other things that I want to share with you about the whole Flynn documents coming out, the newest ones, and also about the Biden things. So stick with me, folks, and I'll be right back. Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthfication Chronicles, and before I get started, I want to remind you, I hope that you are going to be available at 7 o'clock tonight because I'm going to have another live stream. So hopefully I'll do a little bit better on this one, and we're getting it all set up a little bit earlier this time. We had a few things that kind of, came our way last time, but that's all right. We're ready to go, and hopefully it'll be a good time. So I hope you will join us at 7 o'clock, and then when we get done, we'll be done in plenty of time for you to go watch the peaceful protests that President Trump's going to be doing that night. So let's get going on this because this video right here, I'm going to leave the link to this down below, and you need to see this video. Okay, now we talked about this before because this Dr. Shiva was running for the Senate seat in Massachusetts. Well, he lost in the primary, and it was a really odd situation because all the polling seemed to have him way ahead. And then out of the blue, this other guy was like not doing any electioneering or anything. And all of a sudden, this guy ends up winning like 60% or something like that. So it was really odd. So he went to find out about the ballots. He wanted to see the ballots in person. Should be easy to do, right? Oh no. No, they didn't keep the ballots. And he explains a little bit why. And this is something that I've known about for a while. It came out, I think, after the 2016 election, maybe before that even. But that there's a situation with the software where it allows weighted races. And it takes the numbers instead of as whole numbers, they come out with decimals. And that allows for the race to be weighted, if you're working behind the scenes. So listen to what he says here.
I've heard of it occurring in third world countries. But what I've since figured out is that this election fraud is embedded into the American electoral system. It's the operating system there. And why do I say that? Well, I'm a systems guy. The input to the system is unverifiable. No one can verify that I even voted because they don't ask for your voter ID. There is no receipt given. So the input to the system is not verifiable. The system itself, as some of you may know, there have been a number of very good people like Bev Harris and John Brakey and Benny Smith who've shown that in these voting systems, they have the concept of what is called a weighted race. Weighted race, and we should come back to that. But the bottom line is, if I'm running against you, Ben, and I get 100 votes and you get 100 votes, well, it should be stored as a whole number, right? As we learn in math, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whole numbers, not a decimal, not 1.1, 1.2. However, the voting systems store your votes and my votes, let's say we're the two candidates, not as 100 and 100, but 100.00 something, or my number is 100.00. It's stored as decimals. Why? Well, it turns out in these voting systems, going back to 2001, that was shown by Bev Harris and Benny Smith, that they actually store the vote count as what's called in math a decimal, in computer language, a floating point or double variable, which means that it's not a whole number. And furthermore, it was discovered there is a feature on these voting systems called a weighted race. So they could multiply all your votes, Ben, 100 by, let's say, 1.2, and mine's by 0.5. So I end up getting 50 votes and you end up getting 120. That feature was implemented in 2001 in the voting technology to handle in certain cases where these technologies for voting were used in homeowners associations, where let's say you have a homeowner associated with 100 people and one person has 2,000 square feet of space and you have 1,000 square feet of space. He should get 2 votes, a weighted race, versus the other people had less square footage, because let's say they were voting on some common usage of electricity or some common use. So in that sense, it made sense. But why is that feature left in every software system?
I have to ask the same question, and I've wondered it ever since I watched a video on it, that there's no reason why anything should come out as, with a decimal after it, because every vote is one vote. It's a whole number. So this is something that's really interesting, and it's definitely a way that can be kind of rigged, especially if you have this weighted system working out. And a lot of times it could be used to give the impression that a certain precinct voted more for someone than you would expect, or than they really did. Like, for instance, in Detroit, it's going to go blue, but just how far blue it goes, well, who's going to question it, right? I have had a lot of people that have been astonished when I tell them that President Trump only lost St. Joe County, which is a very blue county in Indiana, where Pete Buttigieg was the mayor of South Bend. He only lost that county by 231 votes. That is astonishing. Oh, wouldn't it be something if it went red this time? Oh, that would be exciting. But, this is the thing. Everybody knew it was going to go blue, but just how blue, nobody knew. Now, they didn't have to do anything in Indiana, because it was pretty much a bygone conclusion that Indiana was going to go red in 2016. And it did, because we learned our lesson in 2008 when everybody voted for Obama. And it was like, no, we're not making that mistake again. And 2012, we went red too. But this is the thing. If you have a large area, a county that's just automatically going to go blue, how blue it goes, nobody's going to question it. And that's where they're picking up these extra votes. This is how they can manipulate the popular vote, which is why there's so much focus on the popular vote by the Democrats, because they think they can manipulate it. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen this time, but, I don't know why it wouldn't. I am hoping that our teams in place will stop it from happening, but it evidently didn't stop here. And it's really concerning to me. You need to hear this whole story. It's 15 minutes long, because he talks about how they don't have copies of the votes. And, how can they not retain copies of the votes so they know for sure, and if there's any challenge to the race, that they can look back and they can have some kind of document. And that's a very big concern too. So anyway, I'm going to leave this down below, guys. You got to watch this one. Okay, if you don't watch anything else, watch that one. Okay, and then I wanted to show you this, because this was a little conversation that went on Twitter. And we have these doctors, this doctor right here, she says, if we can take off our masks once we are seated in a restaurant, why can't students take off their masks once seated at school? Just the quote, science is so hard for me. I was thinking of calling my medical school for a refund. And then down here, there's several of you that were responding to it. This one, you got to see the whole picture on this one. But yeah, this isn't about your health, because the church is empty, but we can still fly and everything. And then down here, this guy says, fellow MD here, I have too been marveling at these nonsensical, unscientific rituals brought to us by politicians and bureaucrats. Watching people getting arrested outdoors at well more than 6 feet from anyone else is perhaps chief among them. Well, then she responded and she says, but never during a protest or riot. I wish we'd just be consistent and scientific. Apparently, a lot of politicians went to some online medical school I'm not aware of. And he says, so true. I was beside myself when MSNBC was running articles at the beginning of the protests, quote, protests, literally proclaiming that the throngs of thousands did not have any impact on COVID-19 spread. I know it's MSNBC, but I about fainted. Spectacular propaganda. So I just thought that was pretty funny. These two doctors going back and forth. They're right. The rules are not consistent, and they're not scientific, because if they were scientific, they would be consistent. But oh no, it's like the CDC. Let's see. Do asymptomatic people spread it? oh, wait, I got to check the CDC site today because I don't know which stance they're taking right now. First they said yes, then they said no, then they said yes. I just don't know where they stand unless I look at the site every single day. And, frankly, folks, that's not science. Science is not like that. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you. And then I wanted to share this by Jim Jordan. In 2016, Lisa Page and Peter Strzok sent texts about an insurance policy and how they'd stop Trump. Turns out FBI agents took out actual insurance policies to protect themselves because they knew their investigation into the president was a sham. I mean, it's pretty bad when they take out insurance for themselves. And here's the article, the Federalist, right here. It's a good article, so well worth reading on this one too. But yeah, so they took out actual professional liability insurance on the same day CNN leaked details that then President-elect Trump had been briefed by Comey about the bogus Christopher Steele dossier. Because they knew knowingly, folks, knowingly. They knew from the start it was all bogus. But they kept pushing it because they needed it. You ought to read some of this stuff. This is from the released documents that came into Sidney Powell's possession, and she's spreading them all over because you need to see them, man. This is ridiculous. When you read through some of these, they knew. They definitely knew. Now, let's see. I think there was let me look. Yeah. Here is the link to the document on Scribd. So if you want to take that, you can look through them all. I tell you, guys, this was such a setup, and it's so obvious, but you're not hearing this on the mainstream news. So you got to go to other places and find it. And it's just great that we now have places like the Federalist, and we have reporters like Sarah Carter and John Solomon, and they're putting out this information, and we've got Sidney Powell who's keeping us up with everything too. It's great that we have those, because if we didn't, the mainstream media had a corner on everything, and so they were trying to form the narrative in whatever image they wanted it to be in, not in reality. Well, here's Undercover Huber. I thought this was a nice little summary of the whole Hunter Biden thing. Wire transfers received from corrupt Russian billionaires. Carter Page, 0. Hunter Biden, 3.5 million. For any Russian collusion hoaxers having trouble keeping score. So, and then he's got another one here, another media win, and it's Greg Price here says, just went through some of the news reports on Hunter Biden. The stories from WAPO, New York Times, CNN, NPR, The Hill, Daily Beast, NBC News, Wall Street Journal, CBS News, and Forbes did not mention anything about the 3.5 million wire transfer to him from the widow of the former mayor of Moscow. And actually, this is a really good thread to go through. Here, he's got more stuff about it. So I will leave the link to this and to the other one down below because, he says, slight correction, NBC News did mention the wire transfer, but saved it for a blurb in the last paragraph. So you have to really go through it, and they just don't want to report on it because it destroys everything that they have tried to say about Trump for the last 3 years. And then here's Catherine Herridge, because this is a letter by Jim Jordan to FBI Director Wray about whether the Bureau is investigating allegations against Hunter Biden. In the Senate report that they put out, they had asked the FBI about its actions, but have received no answer from you. So here's the letter, and he just basically says they released an explosive report detailing misconduct and potential criminal activity during the Obama-Biden administration. We write to ask what investigative steps, if any, the Federal Bureau of Investigation has taken in response to the information in this report. Among other findings, the report documented potential criminal activity relating to transactions among and between Hunter Biden and his family and his associates with Ukrainian, Russian, Kazakh, and Chinese nationals. Hunter Biden, the son of former Vice President Joe Biden, allegedly received $3.5 million from the wife of the former mayor of Moscow. Hunter Biden also allegedly sent thousands of dollars to individuals involved in human trafficking and organized prostitution. In addition, the report explained Hunter Biden's questionable associations with people affiliated with the Chinese Communist regime. And if it goes on, the report by Chairman Johnson and Chairman Grassley shows that the FBI had been aware of some alleged misconduct for years. Yeah. 4 years. That's what you have to really keep in mind. Anyway, it does go on here, and the highlight part is probably the best here. The FBI suffered from a pattern of misconduct and politicization at the highest levels of the FBI during the Obama-Biden administration. The FBI used Democrat-funded opposition research and Russian disinformation, as well as doctored evidence, to illegally spy on a Trump campaign associate. The FBI sought to entrap Trump National Security Advisor, Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, to get him to lie so we can prosecute or get him fired. The new revelations in Chairman Johnson's and Chairman Grassley's report only add more concern about the FBI's actions. We ask that you provide the following information as soon as possible. And then here are the things they want. Is the FBI investigating Hunter Biden's receipt of $3.5 million from the wife of the former mayor of Moscow? Is the FBI investigating Hunter Biden's payments of thousands of dollars to individuals involved in human trafficking and organized prostitution? Is the FBI investigating Hunter Biden's Chinese transactions involving potential criminal financial activity? What actions did the FBI take after George Kent made it aware of the $7 million bribe paid by Ukrainian oligarch Mykola Solachevsky to the Ukrainian prosecutor general? So, yeah, we hope that's going to actually be coming out. And the documentation, he gave some documentation for it. You had the review of the 4 FISA applications, that report by Horowitz, handwritten notes, and then also the Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs. So, there you go. Anyway, so that's Jim Jordan's lovely little letter there. He does a good job on it. And I'm interested, too, to know and find out what the deal is here, Chris. Yeah, we're wondering what you've been doing. Have you been sitting on your hands? Why is all this just coming out now? So, anyway, and then Undercover Huber came across this one. He says, it's rare, but I think I've just spotted journalism in the wild. Check this out. This was an interview with from Axios, of Joe Biden.
To serve on the board of a Ukrainian energy company facing serious corruption charges, you were the vice president running point on Ukraine. The average Joe hears that and says, that sounds fishy. What's your understanding of what your son was doing for an extraordinary amount of money?
I don't know what he was doing. I know he was on the board. I found out he was on the board after he was on the board, and that was it. And there's nobody...
Well, you've had a lot of time. Isn't this something you want to get to the bottom of?
No, because I trust my son.
But that doesn't pass the smell test. Like when you're vice president, isn't there a higher standard? Don't you need to know what's happening with your family? Don't you need to put down some guardrails?
Unless there was something that was... there was something on its face that was wrong. There's nothing on its face that was wrong. So look, if you want to talk about problems, let's talk about Trump's family. I mean, come on. This is... These guys are amazing.
So you think that everything that happened was kosher?
There's not one single bit of evidence, not one little tiny bit, to suggest anything done was wrong. You know that, but you keep asking me these questions. It's okay. You're doing what you have to do, but I'm not worried about it. Look, the American public knows me.
Last one on this. Say you're elected, you're in office. What guardrails would you have to be sure that your son, your brother Jimmy, doesn't do anything to trade on the family name?
They will not be engaged in any foreign business because of what's happened in this administration. No one's going to be seeking patents for things from China. No one's going to be engaged in that kind of thing.
So no foreign business for your relatives?
Oh, yeah, kind of interesting. I'm a little amazed that he actually asked those questions. And I also think that that interviewer did not believe what Joe Biden was trying to feed him. And did you notice some of the deflection techniques that Biden was using? You know, just laugh it off. And if I laugh hard enough and make it sound like, oh, it's just ridiculous, then they'll believe me. Yeah, right. I don't believe him one little bit. But anyway, we'll see. Maybe the body language ghost will do that one there. I got just a couple more links here for you. And this one is not a website that I would typically frequent, but I did see somebody mention it because evidently they're in a snit about J.K. Rowling's because she plugs a disgusting anti-trans online store to her 14 million Twitter followers. You gotta look at some of these. They have these stickers and things. You gotta go through and kind of see them because some of them are pretty good. I don't agree with her in a lot of ways. I don't agree, with the whole witchcraft thing, obviously. But anyway, she just was getting them all ticked at her and they were calling her transphobic or whatever. But I like this one. Woman is not a costume. I like that one because it's not. Stop saying you're a woman just by putting on outside stuff. You put on makeup, you put on a dress, you get a boob job. You're not a woman. Not on the inside. It's not real. So I kind of like that one. And then there's some others that I'll let you go through and see because evidently my computer is being weird and not wanting to bring up the things very fast. But yeah, there's several of these buttons. And so they're all bent out of shape here. Because she had these buttons and, well, it wasn't her. It's not her. It's a site that she promoted because they did her, this t-shirt up here about the witch that she liked. So there you go. Oh yeah, they're weeping and wailing. Okay. So she had this right here. She had this t-shirt and she was saying she got her t-shirt from this place and supposedly she's trying to support women-run businesses. But the trans people didn't like what else this shop sold. So anyway, I'll just leave that down below. That was just kind of a funny one I wanted to share with you. And the last one is just sad. Because in Idaho, Christians arrested for singing hymns maskless outside City Hall in county with 0 COVID deaths. Okay, this county has 0. No one in this county has died from COVID. And so they are making everybody wear masks. And the church just said, we're going to go out and we're going to have a peaceful demonstration. They went to the courthouse and they sang songs. And it says here, Wilson wrote at Blog and Mablog after the event, this was not an assembly of scofflaws. It really was a peaceful protest, a petition to our city government for a redress of grievances and a religious assembly all in one. Everything about it was proper. We sang 3 songs and the doxology and then went home. He pointed out that on the day the city council voted to extend the mask order, the mayor of Moscow, which was the name of the city, presided over an outdoor wedding where he did not wear a mask, nor did a city council member who was allegedly in attendance. I don't know, there was some kind of Facebook thing here, but evidently they put it to a different setting so you can't see it. But anyway, the video here, they started arresting people. So the people are just singing and they're arresting some of the people. One of the guys that was arrested, the man and woman who were arrested at first, I think, were, I think he's running for some office, some political office, county council or something. I don't know. So there was some reason why he was a little more high profile. But anyway, this situation. And they were being very peaceful. Nobody was being, a problem. Nobody was belligerent. They just weren't. It was a very peaceful protest. And the thing was, they had just had down here, it says, David Shannon, aka Chocolate Knox, said on the Cross Politics show that Moscow police stood by and did nothing when Black Lives Matter held a defund the police rally in July in front of the police station, violating both masking and social distancing orders. No one was arrested, he said. No one. 0 people. And that's the problem. It really is that they will do it to one group of people who are peaceful and not burning things down or threatening anyone, but they won't do it for the Black Lives Matter. So anyway, that's what I've got for you on this one. I just want to remind you, don't forget the live stream tonight at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. So I hope to see you there. And that's what I've got for you on this one, and I'll see y'all later.